got an Australian one for you today.
That's right. Are you ready to learn some things?
Yes,
Are you ready to talk about beauty and glamour?
absolutely.
And are you ready to learn what a lorikeet is?
Me too.
Courtney Act is on the show with us today. We have a lot of great conversations, so we hope you're ready.
Yeah, enjoy.
Get rid of that turkey feather.
I love the turkey.
Oh.
Mom!
When your first choice is a big old bus,
You turn around and boom, you end up with a sloppy seconds. Oh, diva. Our number is 213-536-9180. Our email is sloppysecondspot@gmail.com. Now on with the show. Hi, you slops, you stupid little you nasty little you dirty little Welcome to Sloppy Seconds with Big Dipper and Meatball. I'm Meatball, and that's Big Dipper.
hello.
Hello.
It's fun to be seen. I'm keen to be seen in green. What are the lyrics of that song from The Wiz?
I don't know.
Okay, but
I am the Wiz.
you're emerald green.
One short day. Speaking of which, I did buy a flight, and I am going to see the second showing of Wicked, but the Baby Loves Fagtasia version. So hopefully I get a cameo.
So get ready, Brooklyn.
Because you will not stop hearing me scream the whole time.
What audacity to buy a ticket to a show and then say, I hope I get a cameo in that show.
Yeah, well, I'm flying all the way out there for
All right,
it.
here we go. I'm excited for our guest today. I think we both are. in
I'm
fact.
very excited.
The Thunder from Down Under, from Sydney to LA, co-owner of one of the best wig companies in the world, the winner of Celebrity Big Brother UK, a drag race alumnus, recording artist, author, and true beauty. Look through the kaleidoscope. It's Courtney Act!
It's so nice to be here. And we're all in green.
Yeah!
That's so weird.
Genius. We're in sync.
That's right.
Yes, we are.
Who was your favorite member
If
of
we could
NSYNC?
menstruate, we'd probably be doing it right now at the
I
same time.
am.
Yeah.
You're lactating. You're not
That's
menstruating. It's a
different.
different
Look,
thing.
don't look
Yeah.
too close.
Did you listen to NSYNC?
Not really.
Yeah, I was a Backstreet Boys kind of guy.
I was a Spice Girl.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Clock that too.
I had Spice on our in high school. In our senior year, we get like a jersey, like a football jersey, and you can get anything you want printed on the back.
Oh.
And I had Spice Boy 99.
Ooh.
The 99 because that was the year.
And did
but
that become your AOL screen
It
name?
was no X-Man.
X-Men-
'cause
like
I
the
love the
X-Men?
X-Men, but I was X-Man.
Wait, you're into the X-Men?
I was so into like all the comics, the cards. I have them all now back in my home in Los Angeles in storage, and I can't wait to like one day soon like pull them out and sit like with tweezers and
Oh
flip
my
through all
gosh,
the comics.
that's so cool. Who's your favorite X-Men?
I definitely always loved Rogue.
Sure.
I kind of loved them all. Like
Yeah.
there was something like about Jean that I loved because she was kind of like a bit, but then turned out to be like the ultimate.
She was very whiny a lot of the time. And we're like, we get it. You can read people's
And she
minds.
was
Do
always
something
like,
else.
"Ugh."
Yes.
Yes.
And then when she turned into the Phoenix and she was like, I just can't do it, Scott. Never slipping, not ever for a minute, not even for a moment. It's too much. And I was like, oh, so good.
Okay, so cut that and make that an audition tape.
Yeah,
Mama,
send that to
absurd.
Hollywood
That was
once the strike is
incredible.
over.
The energy is up now.
Who was your favorite X-Men?
Storm. I love Storm. She was just so cool. And
Really
she
one of the
really
coolest.
yeah, she was just the coolest one.
And she was kind of like otherworldly. Like, even though they were all like mutants,
Yeah.
there was something about her that like she controlled the weather.
Yeah.
Yes, that was like the
That's a
cuntiest thing.
gag.
And I was like,
Yeah.
and she can fly, but it's not like flight. It's just she's controlling the wind around her.
Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah.
No shock here. Beast.
Ah,
Ah.
was.
We need to f*** him.
Ah.
What are you talking about? Big blue guy?
Yeah.
Bigger
that
than
makes
me?
sense. That makes sense.
So
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
smart,
Oh yeah,
Yes.
he's a professor.
What an intellectual.
right?
Yeah, read me a book, Beast. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome back to
Thank
California.
It's
You
so
were
lovely
gone
to
for so
be here.
long.
I know. I've been back each year. I think I was the most next to Rita Ora, the most well-traveled person during the pandemic.
You really did.
Not because I was like traveling for enjoyment, but I got to Los Angeles on the first day of lockdown
I remember
because we were all like, "Oh, COVID. Maybe we'll like have dinner parties, house parties for a couple of weeks. Things will
Yeah.
return to normal," and then cut to all of that. I don't need to re-traumatize us, but I then got back to my place in London, and then I came, and then Australia had no COVID, so I went back there, and then I don't know. It was
You're
anyway,
a citizen of the world.
citizen of
love
the
that.
world.
And
But
you worked a ton. You were like working constantly.
I would go where the the borders were open
Open.
and the work was legal.
Yes.
Yeah. It was all above board.
I'm jealous. I stayed home.
I-
I should have left. All of my friends were flying out. Everyone was leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a mass exodus. I wrote a
Yeah.
book too during lockdown. Let me
Yes.
recommend
yeah.
if you ever want to write a book, global pandemic, pretty good environment.
You'll really find your space and
Yeah.
time there.
Yeah.
I really was living vicariously through your Instagram stories in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Because you were like, look how beautiful it is. Look, we can
Trying
go
not
out
to
to
rub
the
it in.
club. You were like, we have to sit down, you guys. We're not allowed to dance on the dance floor. It's still a thing.
We're not allowed to vertically drink.
Oh my
There was no vertical
God.
drinking.
So you
at
had
one
to be
point. You
seated.
had to be seated.
Because the
and-
COVID doesn't get you when your knees are bent.
No, you're fine.
Exactly.
And then it was because it
Those
was
are the rules.
when it was a song. Maybe it was Gaga.
Rain on me.
Was it
No,
Rain
it was
on Me?
Chromatica. You were like, I've heard Chromatica in the club,
That's
but we're all
right.
sitting down.
And yeah, and then it came on, and we stood up and danced, and the security was like, "Everybody sit down." I was like, "Rain on
On me. Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
Well, you were just recently in Atlanta.
Ah,
You saw
Willem and I saw
Beyonce with
Beyonce.
Willem. I love
Ah.
Crystal. How was the show?
How dare you?
The show was amazing. And I was going to be in Northern California with some friends in the mountains. And then I had gig at Market Days in Chicago. And I was like, okay, Beyonce, two of the world's most wonderful artists are touring right now in the United States, Beyonce and Jinx Monsoon.
I thought you were
Where,
about to say Taylor Swift.
where are they when? That was the
was
bait
a
and
joke.
switch. That was the bait and switch.
That's called comedy.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's from
that
a
was a good
professional.
one. That was
Comedy.
a good one. Well, did you like the Jinx show too?
I did love
it
the
was
Jinx
so good.
Yeah, it was. Except I went to see it. I went to see it in San Francisco,
Oh, nice.
and it was on 6th and Market at the Warfield, appropriately named. And I felt like rattled and shooketh by like what has become of San Francisco.
It's
It was-
wild.
I will say yes.
Really
I spent like
heartbreaking.
most of last month in San Francisco, and I only went like pre-pandemic once a month, usually to do a show up there. It was a different city.
Yeah.
It felt so different,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel ever in danger. I was just like, there's something weird. The vibe is off. The
Yeah.
whole city used to feel lighter.
Yeah, it feels dystopian and
Yeah.
kind of sad. But Jinx's show was amazing.
Slay.
And
Dystopian and kind of sad
dystopian
as
and
well.
kind of sad as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding.
I just love Jinx. I love watching her on stage, and she was wonderful. And then went to Atlanta with Willem to see Beyonce the next night, and that was just an otherworldly experience. We were talking about the Renaissance Bar, but Willem has had back surgery and needs a seat.
Right.
So we
Mm.
got we were like 3 rows from the front of the walk aroundy bit, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, I didn't realize when I booked these tickets they were this good, and we loved
Yeah,
it.
Oh, so you were
People-
on the floor?
Mm.
Okay. That's where my tickets are, and I'm getting very nervous because I'm seeing a lot of videos of people saying like, "Oh, people are gonna steal your seats. Like, you're not gonna have a spot to sit."
If you there was a bit of that went on because there was like 2 rows of empty in front of us,
Yeah.
and then people started to fill them, and then like 3/4 of the way through, those people turned up, and then there was like, they're our seats, and security shining lights, and we're just like, let us dance to Beyonce. We're in the right
Right.
seats.
Yes.
So as long as you're in your seat
Okay.
at the get go, I think you're fine.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll do that.
I'm so excited.
We're so excited. It's all I can think about.
Are you going in LA?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going on her birthday.
Beyonce's birthday.
That's going to be the
Uh-huh.
craziest one. I'm
Yeah.
going on the first night that she's here because the tickets were cheaper.
Do you think Jay-Z will like carry out a cake? And Blue Ivy will sing happy birthday?
I think if she
Grammy winner Blue Ivy singing on stage? I think not. Not for what her mom is paying her. No.
Isn't that amazing? I saw some whole thing. They were like,
Oh,
"This is how Blue Ivy has made $6 million so far touring." It's like she gets paid to be a dancer, and then they're like moving the money to some tax shelter, and then it's like accruing all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, she also made $6 million by just being born into a billionaire household.
Yeah, she'll inherit all that.
Yeah.
So what else are you doing while you're in LA?
I honestly just came like after Market Days. I
Got that
came
back loan out?
well, no, that happened last night.
Oh, yeah, you told me you had a
I
date.
had a date.
Oh,
Nice.
that's
It
so
was-
nice.
And it was like the most datiest, wholesome. I would say like it went 100% correct. Which
Oh.
going on a date out of drag with a gay identifying man for me is complex and convoluted and complicated. It comes with like a parasocial relationship from being Courtney Act. It comes with a gay man's own struggles with femininity and being with someone who's feminine but presenting masculine. And there's like all these things are always like happen, which I try not to be aware of it. Clearly, I am, and so then I probably project that onto them, and that's why they have a limp dick. But last night was like it was like a little. I won't go into details.
Sure, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
But we went on a lovely date to a restaurant, and then went to his place and made out and did butt stuff.
Fun.
so
Oh my
lovely.
gosh. I love that.
Yeah.
Can you unpack a little bit the term parasocial? Because I think I get it, and people are using it a lot more these days.
It's the idea. I mean, I think the pre-internet idea was the bartender at your gay bar who you order your drink off every week, and like who might know your drink order, and you're like, you've got this whole, his name, everything about him, you have all these details,
Got
but
it.
he actually has no idea who you are.
Right.
So it's sort of like when now in this world, like people who are listeners know so much about you to follow you on Instagram, but then you don't actually know who they are. So it's sort of like it's not a reciprocal social relationship.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I forget your name, it doesn't help if you keep on saying, I can't believe you forgot my name.
Oh,
Just makes
Ooh.
it worse for you.
yeah. I remember back in my maybe less compassionate youth.
Oh.
So where I'm at. The least compassionate.
It was like 2001, and there was this boy who was like came up to me and was like, "You don't remember my name, do you?" He's like, "You never remember my name. I've met you so many times, you don't remember my name." And I was like, "I think it's something biblical, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John." And he's like, "You don't remember it." And I said, "Do you know what, sweetheart?" I was like, in the nicest possible way, the fact that I can't remember your name says more about you than it does about me.
Ooh.
That's not the case.
And there it is.
That's not the case for like
N-
every situation.
yeah. But
His
that
name was Josh, by the way.
Oh.
Slay, Josh. Eat
Hi,
it.
Josh.
Yeah. But no, I now if I don't think about what the person's name is, if I just say the first name that comes to my mind, it's often the right name.
Ooh.
Oh.
I have like
'Cause
this
you're a witch.
spooky thing, like in a meet and greet. I'm like, Mary, Sandra, Joanne, Margaret.
And they're like,
And Rich is
uh-huh.
like,
Like,
how do
how'd
you
you
remember these people's
know?
names? And I'm like, I don't know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love
Was-
that. Yeah.
Oh, I just
We-
wanted to expound on the parasocial relationships because you've been on so many different TV shows and there's been like different kind of versions of you
Mm.
produced and put out there. What is like the weirdest one? Like, is it the Drag Race fans or is it the Big Brother UK fans?
I think the most
Or not weird, I guess
the
that's not
most
the right word.
challenging one maybe for me was like the Drag Race one, because I didn't see the relationship that people had with the person they thought was me wasn't who I felt that I was.
Mhm.
Right.
So that was a challenge. But then Celebrity Big Brother in the UK really felt like, oh, this is who I am, and I've now
Yeah.
been seen by people, and I won. And
Mhm.
there was something about that that kind of quelled any of the Drag Race. But when someone comes up and goes, "I love your wings on Drag Race," I always think, oh, I understand like your comprehension of who I am.
Right.
Like I'm
Mm.
that girl
Who went
from
like
Drag
this?
Race. Who
Yeah.
went like that.
And then they were like,
If someone says, "Why were you mean to Jocelyn Fox?" then I'm like, "Oh."
I will say,
God.
there's a clip of you
Now, how'd
that
those
is
wings get there?
recirculating on Twitter
Oh, with
right
the
now.
door?
Yes.
More like Honey My Hug Buddy.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say that?
Okay, and
That's really good, though.
Yes.
That's really good.
It was during the makeover challenge, and they're all getting like a little right before their the runway, and so like the queens are sparring a little bit with their words to sort of show off a drag room vibe. And Dora's saying to her drag daughter like, "Oh, we really have a family resemblance," and Courtney's like, "You better not get that. I hope you don't pass down the hog body," and everyone laughs, and then Doris says, "What with that honey mahogany dress you got made over there?" And Courtney just pops back, "Better than honey mahogany."
It made me seem really witty, but in truth,
Yes.
in truth, those things happened over the course of several weeks, and they were just cut together in one sentence.
But I like it so much because knowing you sort of behind the camera and seeing you play around with your friends, you are quick and funny and in like a joyful, fun way.
Yeah.
And it's great because you have a lot to uphold out in the world.
Yeah.
You're like an activist. You're like a TV host. You set an example, and I think you do. You do such a great job of walking that line where you both feel the pressure to maintain that,
Yeah.
but also be authentic to yourself and like not stop yourself from having fun.
Yeah. And I think that's important. And I think it's that idea of Like we wear different wigs for different situations, different
Yeah.
hats. Like here we have an appropriate conversation for who we are, and if you're reading a book to children, you don't. And we're all
Yes.
smart enough to understand
Exactly.
what's appropriate in different places. I was talking to Katia today doing her podcast, and
Double dip.
yeah,
Nice.
double
Jeez, you're all
dipping.
talked out.
I'm just, oh no.
10 out of 10.
And yeah, we were talking about some of those things, and I'm like, okay, I'm like the language and the jokes that she was making were about sort of those sort of sensitive topics, and I was like, and I was like, as a national trinket who is discussed in the national media surrounding these issues, I would like to yeah.
You're like, let's pivot.
Yeah, where do you draw the line? Because I feel like when, not to bring up Big Brother again, but
Mm.
that was like where you were saying a lot of stuff for people to hear that they had never heard before. So you became like the spokesperson. So do you feel that responsibility still now after
I
leaving
do, but
and winning?
I don't feel like it as a burden. I feel, not to sound trite, but I do feel like it's like an honor because I think that to be able to speak in the mainstream about queer and not queer things, just, the different women's rights and all sorts of things that we had conversations about in the Big Brother house, it feels like to have that opportunity where queer people haven't had a space at the table for so long. And I remember like being in the room, but like having to be like, joke, woohoo, like make everyone
Right.
feel comfortable. And now I get like invited on news programs in drag and talk about like serious things, but there's no need for me to be in drag apart from the fact that it looks good.
Right.
And
National trinket.
National
yeah.
trinket. And it looks
But
good.
and all
She
of
knows it looks
that
good.
after showing your tuck on the moment one.
I know. What a way to enter the house. My
An
skirt falls
iconic
off,
way to enter
and
the
you see like
house.
just a vacuum packed chicken breast.
Yeah, I was concerned. Why didn't they blur it?
I
It
know.
just said, leave it out.
Leave it in.
Why do so many people have a theory that was
Because
planned?
Willem on their podcast said that was planned.
Well, the night before I went in, I had Howie made the outfit that I was wearing, and I wore it for the promo, and I
And
decided
it is Velcro, yes?
pop studs.
Okay.
2 pop studs.
Can't trust those.
And
Dangerous.
Howie made the outfit. I wore it for the promo, and I thought, oh, this looks so pretty. I'd like to wear this for the entrance, but I feel like I need a gown. And so to sound relatable, I messaged my stylist, Frank, and he had found like a piece of material that was the same and was like it was like the night before, and he was like, I can put a couple of pop studs in it, and like away you go. And I was like, okay, great. And then as I walked down the stairs, I breathed out, and kaboom.
Wow.
Wow.
What? I mean, that I just think personally on live television, walking into a brand new environment, being like, I have to put my dress on.
Yeah.
And then you explained it to them, but like, I don't know that everyone like really
No.
understood.
And then it happened again as I was
Yes.
explaining it, and I was like, wow! And then Amanda
everyone's like-
Barry, who's one of the she was one of the older women in the house who was in like the Carry On films, and she had talked about working with Danny LaRue.
Yeah.
Right toward the end, this weird alliance happened between Anne Whitcomb, who was the Conservative politician who in 23 years of Parliament voted against every single piece of pro-LGBT legislation that ever came before her, among other things.
How'd you not kill her?
Then there was Wayne Sleep, who's like a older gay man who's like a ballet dancer with the Royal Ballet, and then Amanda Barry, who is an older woman who's an actress and in a relationship with a woman, and the two older queer people teamed up with the older conservative woman to turn on me. And one night I was in the bathroom. I don't know if I was getting in drag. I can't remember. But she kind of like marched into the bathroom to give me a piece of her mind. And she was like, why are you picking on Anne? And why are you? And I'm like, Anne voted against your right to be married to your wife. I am not picking on Anne. She has literally spent her whole entire career legislating against our rights. And like, and she walked out of the bathroom and she turned around and she was like, and another thing, I worked with Danny LaRue and I know drag queens, and a drag queen would never be that sloppy. This is like 4 weeks after the
Oh my
fact.
God.
After
Hold
like
on, never
She had
be
been
that
sitting on
sloppy.
it.
Yeah.
Hold on a
Excuse
second.
me, I'll reveal right now.
Exactly. Sloppy seconds.
Wow. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm going to take a break on that one.
Yeah. And we're back.
Now, I have a very pressing question for you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Are the gays in WeHo still mean?
The mean gays, they live in West Hollywood. the mean gays, well, they all would if they could. I
They
wrote
would
the
what?
song. They would live in
They
West
would.
Hollywood.
Oh, they would.
Yeah,
They just
they
would.
they
could.
just would.
If they
They would
could.
if they could.
I thought it was about you.
Oh,
You know,
I
they
would
would
if I
if they
could. Well, I would. I did.
I've
How
done.
was living in WeHo?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I moved there in 2010, and I wrote the song "Mean Gays" about my group of tongue in cheek about my group of friends at the time who were the mean gays of West Hollywood.
Courtney's the nice one who hangs out with all the bullies.
Yeah.
She's like, but they're fun and hot.
Yeah.
I'm nice. What do you mean?
And then someone was like, "But do you see how they treat other people?" And I was like, "Oh, no." And so yeah, I wrote that song. I wrote that song driving back from Vegas. I put like a voice note on, and I was like, "He looks like Tarzan and talks like Jane." And I sang the whole song into a voice note, and then like wrote it like the 5-hour car ride. And by the end, I was like, "Oh, I've got a song," and I'm like, "I'm gonna record that song." And
That's the level of productivity that I wish I had.
Multitasking.
Yeah, if I'm in the car, I'm
Meanwhile,
thinking
you're like, my car's going to drive me there myself.
oh
well,
yeah.
this was like 2013, so I was like eating, driving,
Good, watching a
masturbating,
movie.
drinking,
Real boy.
writing a song.
What did you feel like you wrote? Have you written the majority of your music while living in West
LA?
Hollywood, like LA?
I think I wrote all of it up to my album Fluid, which I wrote in London. No, where did I write that? Yeah, I think I wrote that in London.
Okay.
But all of the songs from Kaleidoscope I wrote in LA with Sam Sparrow and a wonderful group of songwriters.
Writers. Yeah.
Great. I
We
love
love
that. We
songwriters.
love
They're
songwriters.
so
They're,
amazing.
you know,
I
just
remember
a
their
part of the
names.
community
What do
that we
you?
can't.
I'm so curious. I talk about this all the time. I talk about making music, being an independent artist.
Sucking old men's.
Yeah, these are the things I talk
usual
about.
things.
What is your take on and LaCroix exactly?
LaCroix
LaCroix boy,
boy.
thank you. What is your take
that
on the
sustained
music
note.
industry? What?
Do the sustained note.
Which one?
The one from that song. But it goes up like
It
two
doesn't
octaves.
go up like that.
We'll make it. We'll figure it out.
We'll do it in post. We'll
Yeah,
take
yeah,
that out in
we'll-
Photoshop.
I sing a falsetto when I sing that voice.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
that song. What's your take on the music industry? Because I mean, obviously, you are a very well-known celebrity who travels the world and performs your music. But also, like when it comes to the music industry, like you're an independent artist, or
Yeah.
are you on a label, or
No, I was in 2003. I was the first drag artist to be signed to a major label anywhere in the world. I
Right.
was signed to Sony BMG after Australian Idol, and I released a song with them. But since then, I've been independent and releasing my own music. And I was just thinking about this the other day because I saw that maybe it's the VMAs have got like a category for K-pop, and have got a category for something else that was like a new kind of twist. And I was like, imagine if
Yeah.
the VMAs had like a queer pop or a drag pop
Yeah.
category.
yeah?
So they could just give all those awards to Kim Petras.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Country drag pop for
Yeah.
Trixie.
Yeah, for Trixie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or country,
Get Ginger up there on the
country
stage.
queer
Yeah.
pop. You could have Orville and Trixie go head to head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it does make sense because it's not like those awards are like the Academy Awards.
No.
They're like thrown by MTV, and
Yeah.
MTV puts Drag Race out now.
Yeah, so
so
why
they could
don't they
have a
have-
drag
Oh, they will,
category.
soon.
MTV, if you're listening to this, could you please create a drag pop or a queer pop
Yeah.
category for the drag queens to be
Yeah.
recognized?
Just
Yeah.
get Alaska her things.
Yeah. Give her her things.
Get her her thing. No, it is, and I'm sure you've moved in and out of those spaces. Like when you made your Eurovision contender
Oh, yeah.
song, that was like funded and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fully supported.
Yeah.
What's it like to sort of know that maybe for one of your songs you're going to shell out the cash and find a videographer and make a music video walking along Venice Beach,
Yeah.
and then the other day you're going to get a car service and walk on a big set and there's a whole team?
Yeah. It's interesting, like being an independent artist, because I guess the reason we do it is because we love music and we
Right.
love performing and we love writing songs, we love creating music videos, and then we love being able to actualize those on stage for audiences. But it's challenge. It becomes like, it sometimes feels thankless because you're constantly
Oh yeah.
like spending the money, putting it out there,
Mhm.
and
And then
nobody
and
wants
then
me.
Your friends make fun of you.
Yeah.
So what
Sometimes they do.
happens?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, you know? Sometimes I support your work,
Yes.
and sometimes it's not great.
Well, no, I think that that wasn't it. Your
No,
work.
I
That
know.
was it.
Sure.
What?
I always have these dreams where I'm like, one day,
Yeah.
like my song "Celebrate" that I released to World Pride. I was like, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the one, and I'm gonna release it, and people are gonna be like, "We love this song," and then go back and like discover my back catalog. Like,
Or just wait for the next
I was
one.
gonna say like Lizzo's
Yeah.
album that like was like a year later that
that
everybody
it
discovered
finally
and
got an
fell in
award,
love with
yeah.
it. Or get to make more, or but yeah, I don't know. Like part of me, like I don't know, the 14-year-old boy who loved the Spice Girls, who wanted to be a Spice Girl, just wants to be on stage, being a Spice Girl, singing my music that people people sing along to, which I sort of tried with "Celebrate" because the chorus is just the word "celebrate" repeated 16 times, so I can at least create video content where it looks like everyone is singing along to my song.
Right.
Or I tell them in like the first instrumental, like, okay, everybody, when we get to the next chorus, just celebrate 16 times. You got it? Okay, go. I'm at Berlin Pride with 500,000 people going, celebrate, 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 and just like
I know, it's an
suspend
earworm.
disbelief.
It is an earworm.
We know how to celebrate. No, I feel that completely. I think I've probably had 2 shows in my entire career where I went and there was a group of people who knew all the music.
Yeah.
And that
What a great feeling.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Because it's not less about like fueling ego and more about energy fueling for the performance.
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand. You know, obviously Beyonce is like a next level artist, but I also understand when you're playing to a stadium and 50,000 people are screaming your song back to you, how you can sustain a 3-hour performance as a superhero.
Yeah.
You know,
You
like,
can see it in her face too when she's
She's
having
like,
a good
"Bitch,
time. She hated those European dates. Those people were seated the whole time.
yeah.
How
I
scandalous.
When it started.
know. And you could see it in her face too if you watch the
But
old
she
videos.
always
She's
does
just like,
this. Taylor did the whole US. Now she's going to do international. Beyonce always starts in Europe because she's like, we got to work out
Finishes
the
at
show.
home.
Yeah.
And when she does that, everybody on mute
Yeah.
in Europe,
yeah,
they were just like
They were already on mute.
already on mute.
They won.
But you were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You were there for the one that won.
Yeah.
Right?
Did it win? It
Oh
was
my God.
amazing. Everybody on mute.
It was
I-
dead.
It was
It
so
was
good.
so silent for the Atlanta ones.
Oh.
I know people are gonna it up in LA.
Mm.
So you're
Well,
like
now what they're doing is they're filming themselves
screaming during.
it up for attention.
No, don't do that to Beyonce.
Not to mother.
Not to mother.
Let's talk about Australia.
Okay.
You're a celebrity there.
Like
You're
a
like
big.
big famous there. When you're walking down the street, how often are you getting stopped?
It does happen, like out of drag. It is quite surprising, and it's who it is because like I have a interview show on the ABC, which is like our national broadcaster. That
Speaking of Beyonce, what's it called?
1+1, baby.
1 + 1
Yeah.
equals 2. Um,
She hit the note.
Well, we'll be getting into the whistle notes soon. I'm just kidding.
or
A gift.
and 1 + 1 is the ABC has quite an aging audience,
Right.
and then I've attracted like a younger audience to
And that's
my show.
Australian Broadcasting.
Australian Broadcasting Commission.
Commission.
And they, so lots of people watch that on the TV who were like older, and people watch it online and wherever they watch it. And so now I'm like a hit with like the older middle class Australians where people are always like, my grandma loves you. And there's this weird thing that's now happening that like people's
I love that
grandparents,
though.
I'm like, oh, because normally it's like, oh, my friend is your biggest fan. I'm like, why is it always the friend? Why is it not you? Yeah, so now it's like my grandmother loves you, or my grandfather loves you, or my mum. Or I was talking to my mum and my dad the other day about they were like, oh, you have to watch Courtney interview Baz Luhrmann on 1 + 1, and I'm like, that's so cool.
Crazy. Do you find people there like more open-minded, or is just your audience?
I think that it's interesting, right? Because like Drag Race is huge,
Right.
but it's a destination show. It's not on a terrestrial network like NBC or ABC or
Right.
where people just tune in and watch TV. So the people who are watching Drag Race are the people who want to watch Drag Race. Whereas like sometimes you'll just be watching, less so in 2023, but back in the day when you're just watching television
Yeah.
and you're watching whatever the network has on at 7 p.m. on a Friday night, and you're choosing between 3 shows kind of thing. And so to be in that world where you're just like on the mainstream
Yeah.
television, where people are not just coming to watch you, they're coming to watch what is on the television, and then they end up watching you and they end up liking you. It's quite transgressive in an interesting way because, I mean, I think Australia has mean, the US has had like different queer visibility throughout the years.
Sure.
And the UK has had a lot, and probably like pantomime and people like Boy George and Lily Savage and Eddie Izzard and George Michael and all of these people who have been like huge pop culture icons in like a 80s 90s era. But then the 2000s there wasn't that much anywhere. And in Australia we had like Dame Edna, of course, and other queer icons. And I think in the UK and Australia there is a more open sensibility to like queer identity and difference on mainstream media. Like the
Yeah.
idea of a drag queen hosting an interview show on ABC, like it's just not
Oh,
something
it's
that we
never
can
gonna
think
happen
about.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Okay, I have a
wild.
question about this. Because you also, in between, before that, when you went to London,
Mhm.
you hosted a dating show.
Yeah, the bi life.
The Bi Life. And on that dating show, you talked about your sort of gender fluidity
Mhm.
and the fact that you don't feel like you're a character when you're Courtney.
Mm.
You feel like it's an extension of who you are.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that sort of designation or like reaffirmation in a public way allowed the interview show to take off rather than I'm a character interviewing a celebrity?
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the interview show. I mean, when I was younger, I saw Courtney as being different. Like I compartmentalized, I think, because I had shame about doing drag and being a boy who was feminine. And I found this container where I could socially acceptably do it. And then over the years, I've been like, oh, actually, I kind of just enjoy girly things, and that's okay. And so I think as I've come to like embrace my femininity and realize that whoever I am and however I show up is enough and is okay, and it's not less than because it's feminine. Then the bi life, I sort of talked about attraction and gender identity and sexuality, and I don't know, I've just always, I guess, tried to like humanize myself in a world where, I mean, drag is sort of a self-objectification in a way, and then I try to sort of
Objectify me.
and then there's a sort of like work to unpack what like, because I think for us drag means, I'm sure it means different things to different people, but drag is like this deliberate choice of how you're going to express yourself in a world that told you that you're supposed to be this way or that way.
Right.
And you're like, no, actually. And the beauty of drag is that like drag is all really different.
Yeah.
And it's like what it means to each of us and how we choose to portray that I love. But sometimes people are like drag is like the finger pointing at the moon, and it's like the shiny thing, and then people like are like, wow, that's a pretty hand. And you're like, no, I'm actually pointing at this idea that like we're all born naked and the rest is drag.
Wow.
Not come in here and quote your best friend.
Sorry.
Wow.
Well, we're all making
wow.
deliberate choices
Yeah.
about the food that we eat and the people we sleep with and the clothes that we wear, the jobs that we do, the houses that we live in.
And even more so
Yes.
now with social media, the way we present ourselves
Yeah.
publicly. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And to think that is just like the way it is feels dumb to me.
Mhm.
And the thing that drag is trying to do is to say, no, you can do whatever you want. You just because you were born with a penis or born with a vagina and you were told that this was the very narrow bandwidth of what you're allowed to be, that's not true. And it's something that that's why I think queer people are here to save the world, because we're liberating people from these ideas, these old systems and structures that don't serve us anymore. And that's very upsetting to some people, but I hope that in 10 or 15 years we'll look back and see sort of queer liberation as something that really contributed to the betterment of humanity and the liberating of women and the freeing of men from their cages that they all live in. Yeah, I don't know.
I hope it's sooner than 10 to 15 years, because Mama, I'll be dead by then.
But-
But-
we'll all be dead.
Speaking about that, well, let's talk about your Madame Tussauds, your body that's there. What do they call that?
A wax
A
figure.
wax figure.
What?
Your body.
Well, because I'm hoping in 10 to 15 years it'll still be there and not melted. How do they
Well,
make that?
It's air conditioned.
Okay,
so,
good,
yeah.
good.